And now it's time for Fits for Big Commits.
Oh yeah, that's right. We are bringing back Fits for Big Commits. It is Transfer Portal Edition. I know that's what we all picture when we think of the transfer portal. It's this weird orb of energy that the players jump into. But let's go ahead and welcome on National College Football analysts Bud Elliott and Brad Crawford. Guys, the first name that I'm going to throw out to you is former Miami quarterback Tyler Van Dyke. He has found a home in Madison, Wisconsin. So, Bud, what do you think of the fit for this big commit?
I actually really like this fit. I think if you go back to 2021 when Van Dyke was in an offense that truly suited him, and they basically told him at Miami, which was run by the staff that is now at SMU, where to throw the ball, Van Dyke threw strikes. Where he really struggled in the past few years when he was not protected well and when he wasn't sure where to go with the football. He's a guy that doesn't read defenses well. But if you can figure out where to go with the ball for him, he actually throws it on target really well. So I kind of like this. This is probably the most similar system to what he had in 2021. So I kind of like the fit.
At his best, Tyler Van Dyke can beat you with a NFL caliber arm in the proper system. And proper system is everything here. He's at least shown flashes of that during his career. He had a 5-touchdown game against A&M this season, 4 touchdowns against UNC, 390 yards there. And that's the best he has to offer, and part of the reason Wisconsin OC Phil Longo made him such a priority. I'll say this, too. 2 years ago, Drake May and Chapel Hill, Longo's offense was nearly unstoppable through the air. But he didn't have the year one success in Madison that he thought he'd have last season on Luke Fickell's staff. So, by the way, Wisconsin's schedule, Alabama, USC, Oregon, Penn State. So Van Dyke's going to get some spotlight opportunities. I'm with Bud here. I think this can work at Wisconsin, but I'm not sold on it being a grand slam or not.
Yeah, Brad, you may be looking at the schedule. I'm looking at the weather. That is a tough transition to make from South Florida to Madison, Wisconsin. But definitely opportunity there, and Phil Longo has flexed his muscles in the past. So we'll see how that works out. Let's talk about another quarterback. Former Georgia backup Brock Vandagriff is going elsewhere in the SEC to Kentucky. So, Brad, what do you think of this fit for the big commit?
Yeah, third time in 4 years that Kentucky is going with a portal acquisition as its starting quarterback next year. And I do believe Brock Vandagriff has a higher upside than Devin Leary, with Liam Cohen helping his development, the OC there in Lexington, and calling those shots. He's closer to what Kentucky had with Will Levis a few years ago from a passer standpoint. And if you watch Kentucky play this season, there were numerous times where the Wildcats had sort of schemed guys open, but Devin Leary either didn't hit them or the wide receivers, they had some issues there with drop. So that's got to change in 2024. And maybe North Texas transfer Jamori Macklin can really help out Vandagriff in the passing game.
I agree with Brad there. This is not a great year. It doesn't appear to be for quarterbacks in the transfer portal. And Kentucky was really disappointed in what they got from last year's portal haul with Devin Leary. But we also know that the backups for Kentucky just can't play. Just look at when Kentucky had to play Brad's South Carolina team last year when Will Levis got hurt. They don't really have playable players there in the depth spots for Kentucky. So you have to go get somebody. I think Vandagriff, relative to what is available in the portal this year, could really be a hit, a recruit with nice pedigree. He's been in Georgia's system. I kind of think this one could succeed there.
But I think the big question mark with him, as we've seen Kentucky continue to do, to bring in a transfer portal quarterback, we kind of just assume, right, that since Georgia wanted him, he's got to be pretty good, but we haven't seen a lot of him. How big of a concern should that be for Cats fans?
I think there is some concern there, but look, Stetson Bennett got drafted. If Carson Beck wants to go pro now, he will also get drafted pretty highly. So it's not as if Vandagriff couldn't get on the field because there were just average dudes in front of him. Like, you had legitimate guys who got drafted in front of him. So I say we can't really ding him too much for that, but there is certainly some uncertainty there, Emily, as you noted.
Brad, what do you think?
I think it's a good pickup for Kentucky. As Bud mentioned, this portal cycle is short on elite options. Mm-hmm. And at Kentucky, they've signed a transfer quarterback to be their starting quarterback now, 4 consecutive cycles with Will Levis and Devin Leary and now Vandagriff. And like you said, Emily, he had a Georgia offer. He committed to Georgia, and he was going to be sort of the heir apparent, if Carson Beck were to leave for the NFL. But now it appears Beck might stay, might have an NIL deal. So he had to look for opportunity elsewhere, and he's found that in the Bluegrass.
Yeah, I think if you gave Kirby Smart truth serum, even he couldn't have predicted what his quarterback situation was like over the last few years, and especially what it's going to be like in the future. Definitely up in the air. What's not up in the air is the amount of times that I'm going to ask you to hit the like button on this video. It's going to be frequent, and it's going to be again right now. So if you have not already, go ahead and hit the button that looks like a big old thumbs up. And we are going to hit on some skill players because it's not just quarterbacks in the portal. It feels like that sometimes. But former Purdue wide receiver Deion Burks, he is transferring to Oklahoma. So, Bud, what do you think of the fit for this commit?
I love this fit for Oklahoma. You guys know I'm all about the metrics, but the metric I have here for Deion Burks is simple. Looks faster than everybody else on the field metric, because if you watch him against Wisconsin, Wisconsin was covering pretty much everybody else for Purdue all night, and Deion Burks is like, I'm open. Hey, I'm open again. I'm open again right here. Throw me the ball. Caught it. Nice speed, great after the catch. I think this is an awesome fit for what Oklahoma does. They need some real playmakers there as they enter the SEC. Maybe they'll figure out the offensive line stuff down the stretch, but at receiver, I love this fit for Deion Burks.
I'm in agreement there. Wideouts are often hit or miss in the portal no matter where they're ranked as far as individual spots, but Deion Burks is a guy that can be an impact player in Norman and do so next season. I don't think the loss of Drake Stoops in that wideout room is really quantifiable given his numbers this season, his leadership abilities, but Burke has a similar skill set, and he's fast. And the fact that Burks had an offer from Texas, as we mentioned, Vandagriff at Georgia, that shows me that he was a hot commodity this portal cycle at that position. And with Andrew Anthony back and Nick Anderson and 3 4-stars coming in as freshmen in this 2024 class, Oklahoma adds Burks to bolster its depth and now gives Jackson Arnold, the new 5-star quarterback starter next season, another reliable target downfield.
Well, speaking of fast, with a name like Rocket Sanders, of course, you expect speed. He is making the move from one SEC school to another, Arkansas, to now South Carolina. So, Brad, what do you think of the fit for this big commit?
Yeah, no team in college football, Emily, needed to load up on running backs this cycle more than South Carolina. Power 5, second worst team this season in yards per carry. First downs via running plays was dead last, 133rd in the FBS. So Shane Beamer made Rocket Sanders a priority from the start. And if he stays healthy, I think he's a guy who will surpass 220 carries in 2024. And now he's playing for 2 of his former assistant coaches in Dow Loggins, who calls plays in Columbia, and Justin Stepp, the wide receiver coach there. And I mentioned this week in a story that South Carolina's offense next season is going to look a lot like Arkansas's did in 2022 when Sanders rushed for 1,400 yards. So they're rolling with Lenore Sellers at quarterback. He's an RPO guy. He's going to be a first-year starter, and I think Sanders fits the bill of what the Gamecocks really needed in that backfield.
I like the fit here, too. I think this is a really nice get for the Gamecocks. When he's healthy and when he's engaged, Rocket Sanders is a total stud. Now, look, it's hard to get a guy like that to not go to the NFL, but because he was hurt this year at Arkansas, I think that maybe gives the Gamecocks a bit of a window here to get a player like this. And I also think it's very safe of an assumption to bet on floor when a player is going to reunite with prior coaches. Does that mean he's going to be a total stud for them? I don't know. Do I have a pretty good idea that he's going to have a really nice season at least because he is going to a level where the coaches are at and they're like, yeah, this guy can play. We've had him before. He fits what we're going to do. I think Brad nailed this.
Speaking of being reunited, not necessarily with coaches, but a friend of the show, former Clemson corner Toriano Pride, is going back home and will suit up for Mizzou next season. So, Bud, I start with you. What do you think of the fit for this big commit?
Look, this is a fun segment to do because I love pretty much all of these fits, right? Toriano Pride, what do we think? Physical and athletic. When I watch Missouri, what does their defense do? It's going to blitz a lot. It's going to jump around a lot. What are they going to ask their corners to do? Play aggressive, press coverage, get in people's faces, rough them up a little bit, be handsy. Pride can do all of that. I think this is a nice fit. He's a premium player for Missouri, which has a really, by SEC standards, cakewalk of a schedule next year. I think he'll come in and play immediately for them and be an impact player in the SEC.
Yeah, there might not be a better fit at corner for a defense that prides itself on being physical and sound at the back end. Drinkwitz had to fish for an immediate starter at corner with Abrams Drain and Rakestraw leaving for the NFL. And I think that he can confidently ask Pride in the spring, hey, you're going to run with the ones. He's an East St. Louis native, and he can step in there and kind of put his face in the fan against SEC offenses. And it sort of felt like 2024 was going to be his breakout year in Death Valley at Clemson as a starter. But I think right now Missouri the way that the Tigers are recruiting this portal, this cycle, then signing a player of his caliber means instant starter, and Drinkwitz can, feel pretty good about this guy that they've got coming in.
I love it. Thank you both for the great analysis, and I love a good pun, so thank you for that, as always. You're welcome back whenever if you want to come bring the puns. But thank you both. As a reminder, if we consider the portal college football free agency, well, then signing day is the draft. And get ready, it is coming in less than a week. We're ready here, and we're bringing you all-day coverage. So tune in starting at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, December 20th.